Interesting thing I keep coming back to while reading JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is when the different parts came out. We've only had 4 parts set in the 2000s, which baffles me to think about sometimes. And some of this is just due to the fact that the anime has been airing fairly recently, so its existence is fresh in my mind. Part 6 was serialized a few months after I was born, and yet the anime finished within the last year. It is this weird disparity that makes the series feel more current than it actually is. Some of this is helped by the fact that the JoJo parts feel like manga that can be made in the modern age. They have a degree of timelessness that helps to add to this disparity. It's a strange feeling, but it is somewhat a testament to Araki's skill as a writer. He was writing part 4 in the 90s, and yet it feels like a current story. When I'm reading older manga, a lot of them have this more vintage feel. They feel like a product of their time, while still being good reads in the modern age. However, reading JoJo felt like reading a current manga that was also still a good read. This isn't to say anything bad about earlier manga, but it's just a thing I've noticed. And all of this could just be chalked up to I read JoJo in modern times alongside an anime adaptation of it. It makes the series feel fresh in my mind because it's being produced and has content going during this time. Part 9 was coming soon, Part 6 was ending, so JoJo was fresh in my mind and looming all around me. And my reading habits also consisted almost entirely of JoJo, so a lot of headspace was dedicated to it. Which maybe it was current because it felt like I was reading it in the present and not when it was released. But I've also been reading stuff about Part 6 that had Jolene being the protagonist as a revolutionary thing, something going against the grain. But reading it in the current times is like, oh, nothing special. But back then it was huge, it was a big deal. Which gives a certain, again, disparity where it's the tropes of then are more revolutionary in the past, whereas now I'm just used to it. A female protagonist is nothing new at this point. But then in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was a big deal. So more than likely, JoJo just feels current because Araki was being intentional about going ahead of the times, going against the grain. And in its stead, it lasted the test of time.